We're billed as the fastest game of foot. I love the run and gun.
Keep your eyes on the ball. I hope to lead this 1997 Syracuse lacrosse team back to Memorial Day.
We don't have a lot of heroes in this game. The dynasty keeps on going.
Super Sports presents NCAA Lacrosse. Today it's the 6th-ranked Syracuse Orangemen and the Penn Quakers. Penn coming in at 5-4, Syracuse with a 7-2 mark. And welcome to the Carrier Dome in Syracuse, New York. Glad you could be with us. I'm Beth Mullins, along with former Syracuse All-American Charlie Lockwood. And Charlie, an interesting development off the field this week as Syracuse, despite the fact they've won 3 games in a row, falls from 5th to 6th in the poll. How do you think they'll respond today?
Well, coming off of 3 wins in the last couple weeks here, I think Syracuse players felt they deserved to be moving up the polls. Rather than moving up, they moved down to 6th, and that's a direct result of the coaches around the country not thinking that Syracuse was deserving of that. And I think a lot of the Syracuse players are going to use that as a motivational factor, and they're really going to feed off of that, starting with Penn today. I know, being there myself just a couple years ago, that it happened to me. We would be winning games and not moving up, and we would be wondering why. And I think Syracuse will use that as a motivational factor and use it as a stepping stone for the rest of the season.
All right, and facing them today will be the Penn Quakers. And for Penn, John Cusson has been one of their stars. He leads their attack.
Yeah, John Cusson is their captain. He has 44 points coming in on 18 goals, and if Penn is going to be successful today, they're going to have to look to him to either put it into the cage or assist on the goals. So he's a very important person for Pennsylvania today, and if they're going to be successful, he's going to have to lead the way.
Now, on the other side, for Syracuse, the Orangemen seem to be finding new weapons every week, and one of them lately has been Doug Jackson.
Well, everyone in the Syracuse area has heard of Casey Powell and Rob Cavett. Another guy that's coming onto the scene is Doug Jackson. He's got 33 points on 26 goals, so he's showing that he can put the ball in the back of the net. And for Syracuse, it's very important because a lot of teams key on Powell and Cavett, and now they're going to get a chance. You know, they're going to have to put a guy and look out for Doug Jackson. So he's a very important part of the attack right now for Syracuse.
All right, the Orangemen 6th in the country taking on the unranked Penn Quakers. We'll face it off when we return to the Carrier Dome. And welcome back to the Carrier Dome in Syracuse. NCAA Lacrosse coming your way. The 6th-ranked Orangemen taking on the Penn Quakers. And let's take a look at the starting lineups for today's matchup. First of all, for Penn, Cusson, Ward, and Janney. That's the strength of the club at the attack. McGill, Reedy, and Morrow, the starting midfield for the Quakers. Ziggy Majumdar, along with Sedlecki and Dobson on defense, and Matt Schroeder, a sophomore, in goal. The Penn Quakers with their first-year head coach, Mark Van Arsdale, who played on 4 national championship teams at Hobart in his inaugural season. The Quakers are 5-4. On the other side, for the Orangemen, Cavett, Powell, and Doug Jackson at the attack. Ryan Powell, along with Chris Clark and Matt Kachaya at midfield for the Orange. Rule, McCartan, and Volan on D, and Jason Gebhardt between the pipes for Coach Roy Simmons Jr. in his 27th season. 275 career wins for Coach Simmons, including those 6 national championships. The series has been very one-sided. In fact, the last time Penn beat Syracuse, Woodrow Wilson was in the White House. It was 1919. The Orange dominating the series 19-1 overall. This is the 22nd meeting. Syracuse in white, Penn in blue and red, and it will be Tim Burns, number 12 for the Orange, and Billy Reedy, a freshman from Comac, Long Island, for Penn. And the Quakers take the initial face-off.
Blue possession right there! Blue possession!
And Penn will keep it the whistle by the back official as they will clear out the Penn goal. There are a bunch of balls from the shoot-around earlier that were still in the Penn goal, and that may be a harbinger of things to come. And Schroeder has to clean out the goal. So already Syracuse scoring early here, Charlie, in the early going.
Yeah, I've never seen that before in any game.
They have cleared out the goal for Penn, and we are now set and ready to go. The Quakers will have it at midfield. And this is Billy Reedy, 17, giving it off to Morrow. Number 29 is Peter Janney, just a freshman. Coach Van Arsdale saying prior to the game he would love to get a little more production out of this midfield line. They have been relying heavily on their attack to get them points all year long. Setting it up back out on top now is Peter McGill, senior from Baltimore. As the Quakers content here early on to just pass the ball around the perimeter.
I think it's very important that Syracuse today steps up their close defense. It's been a problem on and off throughout the year, and it's key that they help each other as a team. And as you can see, Penn's being very, very patient, like most of the Ivy League teams are. So it's important that they talk to each other and help each other out individually.
McGill trying to work on Cummings, and Cummings able to knock the ball free. Still loose on the carpet, scramble for it. One of the Quakers loses a stick. McCartan swinging away, and now Penn comes away with it. Unsettled situation, and Syracuse able to respond. You brought up a good point, though, Charlie, in that Syracuse has already seen some Ivy League schools this year. How does that affect them coming in against the Quakers?
Well, they know that most Ivy League teams don't really take it to them. They'll be very patient like Penn is right now. Move it around the outside and look for the high percentage shot. So Syracuse has to be stick on stick at all times. And Gebhardt has to be letting these guys know when the shot's coming so he can put that check down so the defenseman can check the offensive player's stick.
Good hustle right there by the Syracuse defense. Chase down that missed shot from Penn, and now the first offensive opportunity for the Orange. Kitaya gets it behind the goal to Rob Kavovit, who will set things up. Casey Powell, feed out front. Jackson winding up and missing wide. Syracuse is there to back it up. Well, we talked a little bit about the fact that Syracuse has seen some Ivy League schools before, and one of them Brown and Cornell right there along with Virginia, the common opponents that these two schools have faced this year.
Well, if you're going on scores alone, you know, Brown only beats Penn by 5 goals, and Syracuse lost by 8 earlier on the season. You know, you got to believe that Penn was right there with Brown, so Syracuse has to come out fast and hard today and look to jump all over Penn.
Great save by Schroeder on the point-blank shot from Rob Kavovit. He won't get much closer than that. Van Arsdale pleased that Schroeder is out to a good start.
Good save by the goalie for Penn there. Schroeder getting down quick on it. He's a little bit taller, but good athletic skills.
He's got a .633 save percentage, which is 5th best in the country. So an experienced goaltender who has proved his worth this year for the Quakers. Kitaya fires that one high over the crossbar. There you see Schroeder allowing under double digits in goals per game. So a challenge for the Syracuse offense, and there the kick save at midfield by Rule. Triggers the offense and off the pipe on the shot from Doug Jackson.
Schroeder got a little help from the pipe there, but Syracuse definitely has to be concerned because when they came out against Brown this year, they saw a very good goalie in the Brown goalie, and now they're seeing that with Schroeder. So in the early going, I think it's key that they get off to a fast start so they don't get Penn's confidence up so they think they can stay with Syracuse. So it's very important that they get right to Schroeder.
4-1 Syracuse in the shots department thus far. Nothing on the board, though. 11.5 to play here in the first quarter. Jackson wheeling behind the cage. Kavovit gets it out top. Casey Powell. And Powell gets Syracuse on the board. It's 1-0 Orange. Just too many close looks here in the early going for Syracuse.
Well, Syracuse showed great patience there. You know, there was no one-on-one moves. It just moved the ball around, found Casey Powell up top, who took advantage of a seam. And if you get Casey Powell 5 yards away from the cage, he's going to stick it 95% of the time. And as you can see here, he just split the defenders, and there's nothing that Schroeder could do about that one.
Number 22, Casey Powell, now with an equal number of goals and assists on the year, 28 apiece. He is the leading scorer in the country in terms of points per game. He's at about 6 per game. is Casey Powell as Syracuse takes the face-off.
Going back to Casey, having equal number of assists and goals just makes him a tremendous asset, because coaches just can't say, geez, Casey, all he is a scorer or a passer. He can do both effectively, and he's just a tremendous player.
And I would have to believe that with the assist number up where it is, getting more and more people involved is a good sign for Syracuse in the offense.
Definitely, because they can't key on just one guy, as you see Carcaterra there.
Carcaterra with the goal. Assist from Rob Kavovit, and Syracuse out in front 2-0.
I'm sure Coach Simmons said that Penn is going to be sloughing in on the defense this year. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to be patient. And, you know, with Kavovit behind their quarterback in the offense and finding Carcaterra, who's probably got one of the hardest shots in college lacrosse, you know, if they keep doing that all day long, it's going to be a long day for Pennsylvania. So Syracuse needs to find those seams, have the guy hit the point guy there, and those are high percentage shots they're taking.
Fight for the face-off. Penn comes away with it, so they have the 2-1 advantage early on. Gebhardt there to cover the goal on the wide shot from the Quakers, and the chase is on, and Penn able to back it up. That was 17 Billy Reedy who had the shot. So Penn trying to respond. Syracuse 2 goals in under 30 seconds to take the 2-0 lead here in the first quarter. And now the Orange on the defensive. This is John Ward, one of the senior attackmen. Second leading scorer on the team.
You can see, Beth, that like most of the Ivy League teams, that even though they're down by 2 goals here, they stick with a game plan. They're not going to get all flustered and nervous and attack the cage. They're going to stick with their game plan, be patient, pick and choose the opportunities. And unless they have a wide open, high percentage shot, they're not going to try to create something really crazy.
There's a score as the Quakers are on the board. John Ward makes it 2-1 Syracuse as Ward beats the defender and puts Penn on the board.
Ward right there just uses a little bit of power on the left-hand side, and as a defender, you cannot assist him to the middle of the field. And you know, from 8 yards out on top, Gebhardt doesn't have much of a chance. A one-on-one with John Ward, who's got 30 goals now this year. So he's just a very talented attackman, and as a defender, you cannot assist him to the middle of the field like that. You have to push him away from the cage.
Ward leads the team in that category with those 30 goals. The whistle against Syracuse, so the Quakers will get it. And I got to believe, Charlie, that's a huge boost for their confidence, not only to get the goal early on, but to stop that mini run by Syracuse.
Definitely. It takes a little bit of the momentum away, and now Syracuse is again playing defense. One of the keys of the game today, I was going to mention earlier, was going to be in the face-off circle, who can get control of the ball, because once Pennsylvania gets control of it, they're not going to be in any hurry to go to the cage. It's going to force the Syracuse defenders to be on the field longer.
This is a team, too, the Penn Quakers, that play down in Franklin Field, so they are accustomed to playing on the carpet, and a bad pass there. The turnover will give it back to Syracuse. Cusson trying to thread the needle and couldn't complete the play. So now Syracuse will look to clear. And the quick outlet to midfield, Carcaterra will bring it across for Syracuse. 2-1 Orange. 9:15 to go in the first quarter. The second line is out there now at the midfield with Ira Vanterpool, Matt Coyote. This is Casey Powell. On his knees, gets the shot off. The worm burner misses wide right. Syracuse will keep it as Kavovit was there.
That just shows you how talented he really is, going to his knees and getting a shot off. There's not too many players in the country that, when they're hitting the turf like that, can even think about looking at the cage, let alone getting a shot off. So that just shows you how talented of a player Casey Powell is.
Carcaterra misses that one wide to the left. Almost too much time to shoot that one.
Yeah, one of the things with Paul Carcaterra is he's got one of the harder shots, if not the hardest shot in lacrosse, but he's just got to let that go instead of thinking about it too much. He's got to catch it and just let it rip rather than thinking about the shot.
His legend continues to grow with that crank shot of his. He's rivaling Tom Corey and was a Greg Tarbell back in the early days in terms of the hardest shot in Syracuse history.
Yep.
Powell picks up his second goal of the game. It's 3-1 Syracuse.
Well, that was a great lug by Doug Jackson going across the field to Casey Powell. He threaded the seam real nice there. Casey actually picked it off the turf real nice and went right off the goalie's hip, Schroeder's hip. And that's going to be one of the harder saves to make by any goalie in the country, when Casey Powell hits that goalie's hip, opposite hip, and great shot by Casey Powell.
That seems to me a big breakdown there when Casey Powell is left alone like that in front of the net, and we've seen that actually a couple times now, Charlie.
Right, and I'm sure Coach Van Arsdale is going to have a little talk to his defenseman and say, listen, you have to be on him at all times. If there's one guy on the field that we can't, let go loose, it's Casey Powell.
The good sign for the Quakers, though, is they are more than holding their own in the face-off circle. A couple of whistles against Syracuse, and Billy Reedy doing a nice job. They have been able to control the tempo a little bit here. Let's see if they can get their second goal of the game. They swing it back around up top. Second midfield line is now in with Jeff Zuckerman, Bart Hacking, and Ed Hanover, a West Jenny grad, number 26. This is Hanover with it now out top. Of course, a teammate of Jason Gephardt's, Syracuse goaltender. Good job on the defensive end there for Syracuse.
That's a pretty interesting matchup. Alexander on Hanover. Those two guys also battled each other in high school.
Gephardt with the save on the bouncer from Bart Hacking. The quick outlet with the long stick. Harvey Saccharin, another West Jenny grad, as that storyline continues. Powell. Good defense there as the ball bounced into the goaltender's stick. And now the other way, the Quakers on the fast break. And the pass, an errant one from Cusson. As he was trying to feed Peter Janney, turnover gives it back to Syracuse.
Penn had it set up there real nice on the fast break. Just couldn't convert the point man pass down to the off-crease guy, and costly mistake by Penn. Mistakes that you usually don't see by an Ivy League team. Usually they can convert those. So it's one of those rare fast breaks I think that you're going to see Penn have, and when they get them, they should be taking advantage of them because they're not going to see them that often, I don't think.
Well, that's not a good sign. 4 turnovers there for Penn, with a team concerned about ball control here today. They want to try and take a little bit better care of it. 6.5 to go in the first. It's 3-1 Syracuse. Kavovit looking for a cutter out front. Both Ryan and Casey Powell are there. Chris Clark fires low. That one misses to the right. And backed up by Doug Jackson.
Seems in the early going, a lot of the success Syracuse is having is off the ball. A lot of movement and picks on the crease and up top. And I think that's freeing up some of their good shooters. You got a guy like Kavovit in the back who can find him. It's going to be important that they keep doing this throughout the game.
Clark. Jukes in front. That one misfired, bounces high off the carpet, and Casey Powell there to back it up.
Looked like Clark might have had something in his stick there. Came off on a whip shot and bounced about 5 yards in front of the cage.
11-3 in the shot department for Syracuse here in the first. And again, Rule able to control it. And now Kavovit has it. Casey Powell being shadowed right now by Ziggy Mujumdar. Jackson winding up. Schroeder got a piece of it, but knocked in by Ryan Powell. Was he in the crease? No, they'll give him the goal.
What happened there is Kataya came down the field there, and the Pennsylvania defense came in as to look into a zone type of defense, and Kataya just wound up. Ball hit Schrader, and looked like Ryan Powell was right there on the doorstep to knock that one in. So good play by Ryan Powell.
In the right place at the right time. 11 goals now to go, along with 10 assists for the freshman from Carthage. Syracuse now on top 4-1, although it's Penn up 4-1, now 5-1 in the faceoffs if they can control it. And the whistle against Syracuse having some problems here in the faceoffs in the first quarter. Another whistle against Kavovit, I believe, that time.
In the early part of the season, when Syracuse was having trouble in the face-off department, they were playing top-quality teams, and it hurt them because they were giving up possession of the ball with very, very talented offensive units. And against a Penn team that might lack some of the athletic abilities, say the Syracuse offensive unit has, might not be as bad, but in the later parts of the season and against a quality team, it can really hurt them because they're not getting that ball out of the face-off circle.
And that allows other teams to control the tempo, which Syracuse does not want to give up. Right now, the Quakers have it. Cusson looks in front. The shot and the score from Joe Morrow. 4-2 now Syracuse as Morrow gets the goal. His 5th of the year.
And that was a great cut by Morrow. Came down the left-hand side. And you're not going to see a better shot than that on the run. Found the upper right-hand corner and just pinned it. And Gebhardt was probably going to have to talk to his defenseman after that. You got to be on him at that close to the goal, and Morrow just stuck it in the upper right-hand corner.
Joe Morrow now 5 goals and 3 assists on the season. Penn down 2, but Syracuse wins the faceoff. Tim Burns gets it for the Orangemen. Drops it off for Casey Powell now. Powell moving in front. The spin, the low shot, and the goal. The hat trick for Powell now in the first quarter.
Just a great stop for Casey Powell. Took his man left, and he's one of those few attackmen that can really just stop on a dime, come back, and get a high percentage shot off, and that's exactly what he did there to beat Schroeder low. And it's just an amazing move, and he does it time and time again. And it's tough for a defenseman to stop him one-on-one.
30th goal of the season now for Casey Powell. Gives Syracuse the 5-2 lead. 4:22 to go. It only took Syracuse 18 seconds to respond to that last Penn goal. And Burns makes it look easy on that one. Setting up Kavovit. Syracuse will run in Andy Sheretz, number 13, as well as Chris Cordisco, number 23.
Pennsylvania has dropped back in to the equivalent in basketball of like a matchup zone, where they have guys that if they're in a threatening scoring position, they'll come out on them, and then when they pass it, they drop back in the zone. And I think they're doing this because they know they can't match up one-on-one against the Syracuse offensive players.
Great save by Schroeder on the shot by Jeff Cordisco. A missed opportunity there for the Orange. And now Penn in trouble at midfield. Good juke move there by Hacking. Then loses his stick. Defense gets a hand from the crowd. McCartan to Jackson. Schroeder again there. But the defense will hear it from the crowd here at the Carrier Dome.
Everyone gets excited to see that long stick bring it across midfield, and that was a good opportunity for Syracuse to score. Doug Jackson just a little bit off the mark.
Kavovit now behind the cage, comes out in front, looking for an opening. Coming off the pick in front, the shot by Sheretz. I think that one hit the pipe as well. Kavovit off the foot of Schroeder. He's throwing every body part in front of it.
Well, those are 2 big saves by Schroeder. It's a kick save, basically. He's making the saves with his feet, and just a really tough shot to save by a goalie. And you can see he got a little help from the pipe there. And the second shot by Kavovit hit off his foot and out of bounds. Just really good effort by the goalie there.
Well, now we're seeing why he is so tough to score on, or has been all season long. 5th save of this first quarter. Just under 3 minutes to go. Syracuse with the 5-2 lead. 15-6. Syracuse dominating in the ground ball category.
That's a pretty important statistic right there. Usually the team at the end of a game that has outground balled the other team usually ends up winning, just because of the possession factor.
That's a good hustle stat right there, the ground balls. And the flag will be against Syracuse. Carcaterra tripped up Peter McGill. Penn now looking to get a shot off here. Keeps it in the box. Gebhardt all over that one. And now the whistle against Syracuse. Carcaterra will sit for a minute. Tripping penalty on Paul.
Looked like Carcaterra just got his feet mixed up with the Pennsylvania player, and as a result, he's going to get a 1-minute penalty in the tripping. But it's one of those penalties you really can't help. He's going after the stick, his feet get caught up, and as a result, he has to go to the penalty box.
So man-up situation now for the Quakers, the first of the game. Jeff Zuckerman will put it into play. Carcaterra out for 1 minute. as is Zuckerman. As they continue to work it around the perimeter. Now Penn will start running in some cutters. Cusson, Morrow. Ward has it knocked away. I believe it's Saccharin and Volin over there on the far side. Scooped up by the Quakers. Unsettled situation now for Penn. Zuckerman, save Gephardt. Volin scoops it up and then tosses it back to Gephardt in goal, and a bad pass picked off by the Quakers. About 10 seconds still left in the man-up situation. Zuckerman. Pass goes back out top to Cusson, and we're back at even strength. That pass tipped by Matt Alexander, so Penn will keep it.
On that last series, when Zuckerman took that 12-yard shot, it looked as though Gephardt looked back at him and said, geez, you know, you're going to have to put a little bit more velocity on it than that from that distance. So Gephardt looks pretty sharp early on.
Alexander again coming up with the defensive play as he got a piece of Ward's stick just as John was trying to shoot it. There you see Gephardt in goal. He's given up 2 here in this first quarter, but has had a couple of nice saves as well for Syracuse. There you see his numbers on the year. Giving up about 12 a game, has over 105 saves on the season. He's been one of the strengths of this team the last few games, giving up just 6, 6, and 7 goals.
Well, he's going to have to be a big part of this team because of the inexperience on the defense, and they just have to keep growing and growing every day all the way into the playoffs and then hopefully on to the Final Four.
Nice dish in front. Janney finds Zuckerman behind the back for the goal, and Penn now down just 2 at 5-3.
Well, Zuckerman had a hard time scoring from 12 yards out, but was pretty effective from 2 yards in front of the cage. And what he did there is he used Gephardt as a screen and just flipped it behind his back. Very tough shot to execute, but there's a time and a place to use it, and Zuckerman did that, and it was a good shot by him.
His 7th goal of the season to go along with 7 assists, and Penn gets it back with under 45 to go in the first quarter. Quakers looked to be in a bit of trouble early on, went down 2-zip when Syracuse scored a couple of goals in under 30 seconds. But the Quakers have maintained their pace and are within 2 at 5-3 here with under 30 now to go in the first quarter.
I can tell you that Coach Simmons right now is probably concerned with the fact that Penn is still in this game and they're staying with their game plan. They're not doing anything, you know, other than their game plan. And in the past, Syracuse has seen this happen with other teams, and it's, you know, they hang in there. It's a close game at the end.
Syracuse now on the fast break as time expires in the first quarter. Casey Powell with 3 goals for Syracuse, but the Penn Quakers hanging tough. They trail 5-3 at the end of the first, and we'll be back to the Carrier Dome for the second quarter of play right after this timeout. Welcome back to the Carrier Dome. 5-3 Syracuse as we get set to start the second quarter. As we take a look at that last goal from the Quakers, and a pretty one here, Charlie.
Definitely. Zuckerman cut in front of the cage. The defender lost him from Syracuse, and they just flipped it behind his back for a real pretty goal.
And a reminder, we've got plenty of sports coming your way all spring long on Super Sports, including AHL hockey, Game 3 of the playoff series between Rochester and Syracuse. The air date for this one, Wednesday at 7:30 on Cable 13. That's live, Crunch and the Amherst. AHL playoff Game 3 coming your way on your neighborhood network. And out in the face-off circle to start the second is Billy Reedy on your left and Tim Burns on your right. Check that now. They go with Chris Clark in the face-off circle for Syracuse. And Clark gets the job done.
It's important that Syracuse gets that ball out of the face-off circle and gets it to their high-powered attack. And it's a scary sight for an opposing coach when Syracuse does that on a consistent basis, because you know one-on-one that your defenders aren't going to be stopping Syracuse all day on the close attack.
Matt County, the freshman from Yorktown, Carcaterra, also a Yorktown grad, switches to the left, misses, but there to back it up is Syracuse. And now comes all the way back out top to Coyote. Just underway, second quarter, Syracuse up by 2. Vanterpool in traffic, loses it. Good defense by the Quakers. Ball still down on the turf, scooped up by Penn. McGill had it, and now to Reedy across midfield. Vanterpool coming up from behind to make the play, and McCartan has it now for the Orange. Just a lapse there by the Quakers not to let Reedy know that Vanterpool was coming from behind. Coyote to Vanterpool. Save Schroeder.
Another real good save by Schroeder there to end what would have been a nice transitional play by Syracuse with Vanterpool, but again, he's stopping him and keeping Penn in this game.
Seems to me too here early on, the scouting report is to try to go at Schroeder low, but he has made the saves, be it with his cross, his feet, his legs.
Yeah, he's just coming up big all over the place.
Now the Quakers, very poised offensively as they have been throughout this first quarter plus. They will leave it off for Bart Hacking as we take a look from the corner of the end zone. This is our ball boy cam, by the way, from behind the end line. Penn working with Cusson, back there with Janney, taken away by Syracuse. The quick outlet to Carcaterra, and now the transition underway for the Orange. Carcaterra trying to spin away from Zuckerman. Instead, we leave it off to Coyote. This is Matt Coyote. Double team, spins back to the middle. We'll keep it, we'll shoot it, and missing wide right. Casey Powell there to back it up.
Some of his players are looking at Matt Coyote and saying, geez, you know, you had 1 or 2, 3 guys on you. You might want to look to dump that off next time, and I'm sure Coach Desko will be talking to him about that.
5-3 Syracuse, Casey Powell looking for some room in front, has it knocked away as he tried to get the shot off. We should note too, you can still see Powell with the flak jacket after the multiple shots to the midsection he took in that Cornell game a couple of weeks ago. I know the Syracuse coaching staff was hoping that Syracuse could rack up a big enough score that they could get Powell out of the game as quickly as possible to give him a rest. Syracuse missing on that shot from Doyle, backed up by the Quakers. Now Penn with a relatively easy clear as Syracuse was shuttling in some new players.
One of the things that Syracuse can do here as far as defensively is concerned is they can really come out and pressure the Pennsylvania attackers because of the athletic ability that they have. They can go right out and force them to do things that they're not comfortable doing, whereas the Pennsylvania defenders have to slough off and not let the SU players go by them one-on-one. So it's definitely an advantage on paper, the athletic ability that Syracuse has as opposed to Pennsylvania.
And we had talked too about the fact, how does the defense approach a team where the attack has done almost all of the scoring this year, and Penn's midfield has been relatively quiet this season?
Well, you have to be able to help out your close defenseman if one of those guys that we featured earlier, Cusson or Ward, are able to go by them. But otherwise, the defensive midfielders are able to go right up and pressure the middies from Pennsylvania and make them make mistakes, force them to drop the ball or pass the ball away. So as you can see, a lot of that's going on right now.
A windup. Gephardt is there to clear it wide to the left on the shot from Ed Hanover. There you see Hanover, the senior from West Genesee, as we mentioned earlier.
Coach Simmons hates when these local guys get away from him and they go other places, and then they decide that they're going to schedule them on, for the season. Some of these guys have come back, and you saw Fruit from Jordan Elbridge when he was playing with Brown just a couple weeks ago, come back and burn him for 5 goals. Yep. And Coach Simmons doesn't want to see Hanover do that today.
I suppose it's a good sign for local high school lacrosse. There are so many talented players in this area. They can't all stay home, but you're right. I think Coach Simmons would rather they not come back and burn them here.
Yeah.
Right now, his Orangemen up 5-3, under 10 minutes to go. And now Syracuse looking to end a bit of a drought. They haven't scored since just over 4 minutes to go in the first. The shot from Cummings goes high over the top. Kavovit is there to back it up. We saw some defensive miscues from Penn early on. They seem to have settled down quite a bit after a couple of occasions where they left Casey Powell wide open in front of the goal.
Yeah, I think the defense from Penn has to stay on Kavovit and Powell and have to keep them where if they touch the ball, they're in a position to check them right away. If you just give them a second or two, they're going to burn you.
Speak of the devil, there's Kavovit to Ryan Powell. Right on cue, and Syracuse goes back on top by 3.
Well, with Kavovit being left alone behind the cage in time to find players cutting, Ryan Powell with a nice cut, and Kavovit's going to find him, and he puts it right on Ryan Powell's stick, and from there it's a high percentage shot because he's right in front of the cage, and he's got the whole cage to look at, whether he's going to shoot it low, bounce it, or go high. He went high on Schroeder, and you know, from 8 yards out with that kind of velocity on a shot, it's really hard for a goalie to stop that.
6-3 now Syracuse. Team Powell with 5 of the goals for the Orange here in the first half. Scramble still for the face-off. Scooped up by a Penn long stick, and a timeout called by Mark Van Arsdale. Brett Bodner able to scoop it up off the turf, and Van Arsdale will call a 22nd timeout with 9:06 to go in the first half. 6-3 Syracuse on top. And a reminder that Syracuse is home once more this season, and it's against arch rival Hobart. The Statesmen will be at the Carrier Dome. The air date for this one, Friday, May 2nd at 8 p.m. NCAA Lacrosse on Super Sports. It's Hobart and Syracuse. And speaking of Hobart grads, there's one right there, Mark Van Arsdale.
That was probably a pretty good timeout by Van Arsdale to get the troops together and say, listen, it's only 6-3. We've done what we wanted to do, basically. We've come out and not let Syracuse get out so far ahead that it's just going to be a blowout. They've stuck to their game plan, and I think that was a really good timeout by him just to get the troops together and talk about some things that they want to try to get done on this next offensive set.
A lot of talk about what Syracuse players learned from Roy Simmons, and some of them have obviously gotten into the coaching ranks. And here's a guy who's probably learned a thing or two, Mark Van Arsdale, from Coach Urich, who's now put together quite a program down at Georgetown.
Most definitely. You find that some of the coaches that come back and coach these great teams have been also coached by great teams, or you played on great teams with great coaches. So Coach Van Arsdale does the best with the talent he has to work with here at Penn, and you know, 6-3, they're right in this game.
He also has some experience in the last 6 years down in Charlottesville at the University of Virginia, where he was an assistant on their national championship team. Also has some experience at UMass, so Van Arsdale with quite a resume before arriving in Philadelphia this year. Well, just like Brown earlier in the season, Penn has been able to control the tempo. Janney tries with the left hand, misses wide. That's one thing that Cornell was unable to do a couple of weeks ago. In terms of Ivy League opponents for Syracuse that have tried to not necessarily slow things down, but certainly take their time in looking for their shots.
It looks like Syracuse just changed up the defense a little. They were coming out and pressuring, whereas now they've dropped back in again in a matchup type of zone. And for whatever reason, maybe to get a shot off so Gebby can get a save and get something going on the other end. But they definitely changed up the defense, and it looked like it worked there.
Gebhardt with a nice save and the quick outlet. Matt Alexander. Syracuse crowd wanted a penalty, and now Alexander gets it across midfield. (6-3) Syracuse with 7:20 to go in the first half, as now Doug Jackson has it for the Orange, and he'll leave it for Matt Kataya. Checks in along with Ryan Powell. And now Ryan Cummings will sprint to the near sideline. Chris Clark will come on, the transfer from Michigan State.
These two guys, Kataya and Ryan Powell, are going to be big-time players as the season gets closer to playoff time in the Final Four, because they can't rely so much on their attack as midfielders. They're going to have to start stepping up and scoring and become offensive threats from the midfield. So it's important to see that these guys learn a little bit every game and grow.
Jackson finishing that one up on the nice play from Casey Powell. He got that one started. And Syracuse now with the 4-goal lead.
We've seen this a few times before in the past. Casey Powell going by his defender, coming up, taking a shot. Doug Jackson, right place, right time, right there for the layup. And, you know, that's a disheartening goal if you're one of the Pennsylvania defenders, because you work so hard to stop Casey Powell, and Doug Jackson just dumps it in for an easy one. And that defender who's ever on Doug Jackson has to be there and make that check before Doug Jackson gets it in his cross for the easy goal. So. And
that's the second rebound goal that we've seen here today. Ryan Powell had one in the first quarter. Casey Powell finds some space, looking to feed it one-timer off of Jackson's stick, but the defender was there, number 44, Joe Sedlecki, who incidentally is also a Carthage grad, so he's familiar with Ryan and Casey Powell. Here's Ryan, spinning away from the defense, tried to go back to the right, backed up by Syracuse. Matt Doyle. Good ball movement by the Orange, and diving to get the shot off, but they will wave off the goal, saying Powell was in the crease before he got the ball out of his cross.
Great effort by Casey, a little subway gate there, and came in, and the official said that he was in the crease. I think we're going to get a better look on the replay here. And the only thing that I can see there is maybe Casey's shoulders landed in the crease before the ball broke the plane of the goal. But very exciting play, and it's good to see Casey making those types of plays. It's good for the game of lacrosse, and unfortunately the ref didn't agree.
Penn trying to respond at the other end. John Ward bottled up by Devin Ackerman. The Quakers were there to back things up. 7-3 Syracuse, 5:30 to go in the first half. And so far the Syracuse defense, as we take another look at Powell, let's see. Wow.
Usually, like in baseball, tie goes to the runner. I guess not on that play. So the officials thought that Casey was in the crease before it broke the plane, but what are you going to do?
Gebhardt getting some help from the pipe, but now Syracuse on the attack. Jackson. Powell in front, saves Schroeder. The quick outlet now for the Quakers as they will try and get the offense in motion.
Real good save on that by Schroeder. Casey Powell cutting in right in front of the cage for a wide open shot. I think he wishes he had that one back. He might have gone down or mixed it up with a bounce shot or something. Pretty much threw it into the stick of Schroeder, but nonetheless he came up with a big save, and you know, came up big there for Pennsylvania.
28-14 Syracuse, doubling up the Quakers in the shot department, and the whistle will go against Penn, so Syracuse will get it back with 4:34 to go in the half. Carcaterra is out there along with Ryan Powell and Matt Kitai at the midfield. Doyle, Casey Powell on the attack, as well as Jackson, who's got it right now behind the cage. Doyle spinning in front, goes high and gets the goal. Matt Doyle with his 8th of the season, and Syracuse picks up its 8th goal of the game.
Matt Doyle makes a great inside roll dodge there and beats the goalie inside, Schroeder inside on the shot. But Matt Doyle's a pretty interesting story, as you can see him here again on the goal. That just 2 years ago he was an All-American, hurt his knee last year, wasn't able to play with the team. Saw his playing time this year hurt because of the fact that we had Jackson, Powell, and Cavett on the attack. And he steps right in, and he's been there before, so he's another big contributor to the Syracuse offensive unit.
It is a great comeback that he has had over the last couple of years, and now, as you say, trying to contribute in another run for a national championship for the Orange. Right now it's the Quakers, though, with the ball. John Ward coming in and scoring on Gebhardt. Able to blow by the defender and get the goal. A lot of fight in John Ward.
Look like, who do we have on the defense there?
I think it's Sheedy.
Kevin Sheedy. I'm sure Coach Desko is going to tell him when he goes to the sideline there that throwing an over-the-head check at that part on the field is not something you want to do. It's a very high percentage, a very low percentage check, and John Ward was able to scoop by Sheedy after the overhead attempt was thrown, and it was an easy goal for him. And Gebhardt cannot be happy with that because of the fact that, you know, as a defenseman, you just shouldn't let an offensive player do that, especially one of their top players.
Syracuse tries to come right back. Schroeder again with the save, and now Penn will look to clear. Quakers trailing 8-4. That last goal by Ward, by the way, his 31st now of the season. The junior from Wilton, Connecticut. Second all-time in Quaker history in the goal department. Sixth all-time in points for Penn. There you see Ward. He has a couple of goals tonight. Under 3 minutes now to go in the first half. Making a run on the cage is Cusson. Fires high over the top.
Ball boys, you gotta be careful back there. They're sitting there talking about, you know, what they were watching on cartoons this morning, and one of them almost got drilled in the head.
Well, I got to believe if Coach Van Arsdale had some scores in mind around halftime, this wouldn't be a bad one at just 8-4. Listen to that stick on stick. Volan able to knock that shot off.
It's actually titanium on titanium, and Sam Volan was really throwing it hard there, and the refs let it go. I mean, depends on where you're playing around the country, but that could be a slash somewhere else, whereas, you know, he just threw 3 or 4 of them on that guy, and each one of them hurt up here.
Ward beat Josh Rule, but then Ward was in the crease, so Syracuse will get it. And now Syracuse will look to clear. There you see Volan. At 6'2", 200, he was working against Cusson, who's 5'8", 165.
Seems a little bit unfair, especially with the 6-foot titanium he's throwing against the 40-inch titanium. Bigger and better.
Carcaterra. Shot goes wide. A flag is down back out at midfield as Kavovit now has it in his cross for Syracuse. Quakers trying frantically not to allow Syracuse to get the shot off, and finally the whistle comes.
Looks like it's going to be an offsides on Pennsylvania.
Yep. That will be on the Quakers. So a 30-second penalty against Penn. And with 1:54 to go in the first half, I believe this is the first man-up situation for Syracuse today. Just the second of the game. Penn had one earlier, 0 for 1. So now the first opportunity for Syracuse's man-up squad. That's what they've done on the season, about 38% effectiveness. And there's a goal by Doug Jackson. Went low on Schroeder, and Doug has his second goal of the game.
Schroeder just looked to himself like, how did that one squeeze by here? Doug Jackson is a very sneaky player, and he's got a very hard shot for a smaller guy. And he just let that one go low, and Schrader thought he had covered the pipes there. He just skimmed right by his ankle. Tough shot for him to save, and Doug Jackson with a great play.
We highlighted him a little earlier, saying he would be a big key for Syracuse down the stretch here, and he now has 28 goals on the season, does Jackson. Penn still leading in the face-off category. Coming up on 1.5 minutes to play, Syracuse by 5 at 9-4. This is Peter McGill. Syracuse has won 3 straight, although in the polls this week they dropped from 5th to 6th. They got off to a hot start here today, went up 2-zip, and now a Penn player down on the carpet. I believe that is Billy Reedy. And we've got an official timeout as the trainers will come out to attend to Reedy. And this may be the result of a slash.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was borderline unsportsmanlike there on the Syracuse defender, and you have to watch that when you're coming up high there with the titanium shafts coming across the head area, and he's probably a little shaken up there.
Reedy took a shot from Chris McCartan. So a man-up situation coming here for the Quakers, and a timeout called by Roy Simmons Jr. There you see Reedy, a freshman from Comac, who is also their face-off guy. And I think looks like he's still trying to figure out a little bit of where he is right now. And we will take a timeout and be right back to the Carrier Dome after this. Welcome back to the Carrier Dome. NCAA Lacrosse on Super Sports. Syracuse leading the Penn Quakers 9-4 with 1:03 to play in the first half, and Billy Reedy being attended to by the trainers on the Penn bench. And let's take another look at that last play.
I wouldn't be surprised if the trainer from Penn is looking at this as a possible maybe concussion. You know, any blow to that, to the head region, you know, I'm sure she's down there taking all the precautionary measures, asking them the right questions. My freshman year at Syracuse back in '90, I took a hit like that and ended up with a concussion, and you know, it's a tough one to see, like on the replays.
He seemed to be holding his jaw when he went over that sideline. It was right along the jawline that the hit came. Controlled by Penn out top. And they must not have called a penalty on that?
No, I think they actually let the ball play on there, and no penalty was assessed to the SU defender.
So it is not a man-up situation for the Quakers after that tough hit on Reedy. But Penn will try with 23 seconds to play in the half to get one more. Good defense from Volan there.
Real good defense, pushing the attacker away from the cage instead of leading him towards the cage like that shot.
Ward gets the score. John Ward has really carried this Penn team in the first half. Ward now joining Casey Powell with a hat trick here today.
Ward here using his size and strength, and he is a lefty. As a defender, we were talking about the play before, you have to push the Penn attackers away from the cage, push him towards the sidelines instead of pushing him, getting out on the back, because Ward is big and strong, and he's going to feed off that pressure, and actually the SU defender assists him towards the middle of the field, and that's a high percentage shot he takes.
And the whistle against Penn. The Quakers were offsides. 5 seconds left. Powell fires it downfield, and Penn is there to clear it out. That will take care of business for the first half of play. The Quakers getting a late goal from John Ward, and it's the Orangemen leading 9-5. And we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Carrier Dome at the half. 9-5, Syracuse leading Penn. Beth Mullins along with Charlie Lockwood. And Charlie, Penn able to keep it close, but Syracuse looked like they were going to get off to a really hot start. Casey Powell got out of the gates quickly. We'll take a look at him here in just a second, but Penn able to keep things tight.
Well, yeah, I think if I was Penn right now, the players and the coaching staff, I'd be very happy with what happened in the first half. They're not winning the game, but they've stuck with their game plan, haven't got flustered to the point where they're getting blown out at this point. And I think I would be very happy, come out in the second half and maybe put a little bit more pressure on the goal offensively.
And here's Powell, as we mentioned.
Casey Powell, you know, is just a phenomenal player. The things that he does, you know, there's not too many guys in the country that can do that. that goal right there that was called back is just a great move. But Penn's hung in there strong, made the plays that they had to just to stay in the game. And you know, if they come out here in the second half and they get a couple of these faceoffs, it could be a different game.
Let's take a look at the first half statistics. Syracuse dominating in the shot department. Ground balls tightening up. Penn doing a little bit better. Man up. Both teams only had one opportunity. Penn 0 for 1 and Syracuse 1 for 1 in that department. Faceoffs, though, Penn controlling the faceoffs and therefore controlling the tempo here in this first half. And what would you suggest maybe to Syracuse if you were in the locker room there at the half as to what they can do to sort of speed things up a little bit?
Well, I'm sure Coach Simmons said we have to turn up the heat in the kitchen. That's the phrase that he uses. And come out and get a great start, and that's what Syracuse has done.
Syracuse with a goal just 14 seconds into this third quarter, and it's Doug Jackson with his third of the game. Well, that's what Syracuse wanted right there with the quick start. Jackson makes it 10-5, and he now has the hat trick as well, along with Casey Powell and Ward for Penn.
Syracuse knows when they come out and get a quick start like that, that it just puts a lot more pressure on Penn, who's not a team that likes to come from behind and win games. They're down 5 now, and if Syracuse can maintain that momentum, it's going to be an easier victory rather than bringing it all the way down to the wire.
Penn able to control the face-off, and now the Quakers methodically will go to work at the offensive end. Janney loses his footing, knocked away by McCartan. A flag out at about the 35-yard line, and the penalty will go against the Quakers. And a slash to the helmet, 1 minute, the call on Janney. So a man-up situation coming up for the Orange.
Not a good play by Janney there, giving Syracuse a 6-5 advantage on the man-up. And being down by 5 goals at this point in the game and giving Syracuse that type of advantage really hurts the Penn team and the Penn defensemen here. Syracuse got enough manpower to go 6-on-6 with anyone in the country. Now they're going 6-on-5, so.
Don't need to give them any advantages, right?
Right.
Syracuse 1 for 1 and man up thus far. Make it 2 for 2. Paul Carcaterra gives Syracuse a 6-goal lead.
Paul Carcaterra, we talked about it earlier on, got one of the hardest shots in the country. Left wide open on that left wing, and if he can put it on the cage, it's going to go in. There's not too many goalies that are going to stop this shot. And you can see right there on that angle, he went low on Schroeder, and second goal tonight for Paul, and he's just playing real well, and he's a key on the midfield for them. 14
now on the season for Carcaterra. And a good sign for Syracuse, I would believe, Charles, that they're getting some balance now between that attack and midfield.
Right, and that's going to be key as they progress along the season and into the playoffs, because teams won't be able to come in and say, okay, we'll stop the attack and there's no midfield. The midfield here today has shown us that they're going to produce as well as the attack.
And Syracuse slashes right back. Harvey Saccharin will sit down for 1 minute. So now a man-up situation for Penn, 0 for 1 in the game thus far. Well, it took us to about midway through the second quarter to get a man-up situation in the first half, and we've already got 2 now here in the first couple of minutes. 1 for Syracuse and now the Quakers.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that both teams wanted to come out really hard and be aggressive. Syracuse because to increase their lead, and Penn to catch up a little bit. So I think you're going to see a little bit more penalties and a little bit more action here in the second half.
Out on top, Morrow. Cousins, 20 seconds in the penalty. Working in front, Gephardt can't stop that one from sneaking by, and the goal for West Jenny grad Ed Hanover.
That was a pretty good individual move by Hanover. Came in on the left-hand side, and the defender just gave him too much room inside. He snuck in there and avoided the crease and also put the ball by Gephardt. So just a great move, both physically and mentally, being aware of where that crease was.
5th goal of the season for the senior, along with 1 assist. And it's back to a 5-point Syracuse advantage. Burns back in the face-off circle for Syracuse against Jeff Zuckerman. And a miscue there on the pass, so Penn will get it right back.
Kavovit might have taken his eye off that ball coming from Burns, and you know, as you know, Syracuse gets that face-off so easily, and then they just throw it away on an errant pass, and you know, they've had trouble getting the face-off alone this year, so they can't make those mistakes. But Kavovit won't make too many more of those as the season goes on.
So now a clear coming up here for the Quakers. Schroeder. Jackson got a piece of that pass. Good stick work by the Orange attack. Now a 3-on-1. Kavovit may have kept that one a little too long. Shot goes by.
Dougie Jackson was wide open on the left-hand side, and you could see as he went by the cage after Kavovit shot it out of bounds that, you know, Rob, I'm wide open here on the left-hand side here. Just give me a little shovel pass. I'm going to bury this for my 4th. And Rob probably didn't see him because he's probably one of the most unselfish guys on the Syracuse team. So it wasn't being selfish. It's probably just that he didn't see Dougie.
Good news for the Quakers. Number 17, Billy Reedy, was getting ready to check back into the game after taking a hard shot in the first half. So the Quakers will get Reedy back out onto the field, which is a good sign for Penn. And now they will leave it off for Reedy. Just a freshman, but an integral part of this Penn attack. Under 12 to go in the 3rd. 11-6, Syracuse on top. They've led by as many as 6, but the Quakers hanging tough. Caught in front, the shot by Morrow, save Gephardt. And again, Jason, the quick outlet. That's becoming commonplace this year, that quick outlet all the way out to midfield. Cummings, as the flag flies, behind the back, shot just misses to the near post.
Cummings is a short stick defender, and when they get an opportunity to go to the cage, they do that, and I think he's trying to put a little extra mustard on this one, and came in on the goalie, had no angle, and just hit the pipe there. It would have been a spectacular goal by Ryan Cummings. So he's just one of those great defenders that can also turn it into an offensive situation if given the right opportunity, and he thought he had one there, and it was a good play by him.
And I would imagine anytime that yellow flag flies, it's a green light for whoever has the ball.
Yeah.
Syracuse now again in the man up for a minute. Casey Powell. Carcaterra winds up, misses to the right. Kavovit backs it up. 40 left on the penalty. Incidentally, it was Reedy who was whistled for the infraction, so Billy is sitting out. There you see Paul Carcaterra. He has a couple of goals today. Casey Powell with 3, all of them coming early. Doug Jackson also has 3 for Syracuse. Matt Kitaya, and now Kavovit. Kitaya with the feed to Powell. Tough angle there from Casey's shot. Syracuse will get it back with 15 seconds in the penalty.
Looks like Casey stepped in the crease there. Syracuse is doing a good job, though, being very patient on that man up, and that's a positive thing for Syracuse in itself.
Well, there was a time earlier this year when Syracuse was being outshot by its opponents, but in the last couple of games, they have reversed that trend, and very lopsided here today. Syracuse 39 shots to just 15 for the Quakers.
Something Syracuse has been doing really well the last few games, though, talking about the advantages in their shots, is they've been backing up the cage, and that's a direct result of hustling and being at the end line when that shot is taken, so you retain possession of the ball. In the first couple of games, they were making some mental errors where they didn't have that backup, and they weren't getting the shots they wanted.
Push on Syracuse, I believe. Volin Both Mullen and McCartan were in the vicinity. Penn, by the way, was able to kill that last man-up situation for Syracuse, and now on the offensive themselves. Peter Janney. Janney gets the goal for the Quakers. That makes it 11-7.
Anytime that an offensive player gets a chance and can come across the middle of the field like Janney just did, it's a very hard shot for any goalie in the country to make because of the fact that the offensive player can see the entire cage rather than just an angle. And as a defender, you're taught to push your offensive player away from the cage, and you'll get help in the middle. Syracuse got no help, and as a result, Janney saw the entire opening of the cage and just put it by Gebhardt.
His first goal of the game and 27th on the season for Peter Janney as Devin Ackerman checks out for Syracuse. Whistle on the face-off going against Penn. Coyote, Vanterpool, and Carcaterra at midfield. Kapovic, Jackson, and Powell on the attack for Syracuse. Working on Matt Schroeder between the pipes for the Quakers, 5th best in the nation. Save percentage. Coyote tests him, and Schroeder is up for that play. The putback by Vanterpool, no good.
I was just going to say, two guys that we haven't heard of a lot today are Vanterpool and Coyote, who are two excellent players and have to start contributing as the season goes on to help the Syracuse team. They're very talented lacrosse players, and they need to start asserting themselves by taking control and doing some things offensively for Syracuse.
Schroeder with another big save on the shot from Carcaterra, and now Penn in trouble. Great diving stick check there from Casey Powell, but the Quakers still come away with it. Peter McGill now has it in his cross. Goes to the left, tries to dish it in front. Gebhardt comes away with it. Syracuse on the run.
There it is.
Just missing off the side of the net on the shot from Doug Jackson.
Dougie was sort of behind everyone there for the Penn Quakers defensively, and just couldn't complete it. That would have been a nice goal for Syracuse.
Able to sneak behind the defense, can't convert though. And now the Quakers. One thing though about plays like that, Charlie, is it certainly speeds up the tempo and makes it more of a Syracuse type of game if Penn tries to respond.
Without a doubt, this is the way that Syracuse wants to be playing the game, up and down, because they know eventually the athletic ability for them will far outmatch what Pennsylvania has.
11-7, Syracuse leading Penn with 8 minutes to go now in the third. Syracuse 6th in the country with games against UMass and Hobart to finish out the season before heading into the NCAA tournament. Of course, a lot of excitement this year about the regional sites now for the first couple of rounds of the tournament. And then finishing up in College Park with the national championship on Memorial Day weekend. Spinning in front, the shot no good from Hanover. John Ward was there for Penn.
Good help on the play by Sam Volan, number 41, to come over, and these are things that Syracuse has to keep working on. To become a unit, a defensive unit, you have to have the help from your defenders, and Carcaterra got beat there, but Sam Volan was right there to not allow the offensive player for Penn to keep coming through to the middle of the crease to get that shot off. So Syracuse defense has looked pretty good up until this point.
They have not allowed double figures in goals the last 3 games. Trying to hold Penn under that figure as well. This is a unit that has been much maligned over the last couple of years, but Gebhardt seems to have things under control here with this unit as they are starting to come together. And just like the hockey playoffs that have started in the last couple of days, a hot goaltender can mean everything in the NCAAs. Gebhardt is there with the save. Following in the footsteps of some greats that have played between the pipes for Syracuse, Matt Powell.
The thing that makes Gebhardt's job different than maybe some of those other guys.
Coming Cummings with the goal for Syracuse. The quick strike capability of the Orangemen.
Cummings with a nice move. We were just talking about him a minute ago. He's a defensive midi, but when he gets the ball, he's one of those guys that can go to the cage. Schroeder guessed wrong, went down low. Cummings put it right over his head. Got the inside angle here, and wasn't a very hard shot, well placed. And you see Ryan Cummings celebrating in his own little way behind the cage. And I tell you, one of those D middies take advantage of their chances, and they're far and few between. And little showtime there afterwards.
Fourth goal of the season for Cummings. Syracuse wins the faceoff. Streaking down the field now for the Orange. Shooting and missing just wide was Drew Searle, who would come in to take the faceoff for Syracuse. There you see Drew.
I think he was a little bit surprised how wide open he was coming down the middle of the field. And that's a little bit like basketball. When the guy's going up, he's not sure if he should dunk it or he should lay it in. And it's so easy that it's a hard play to execute.
Saved by Schroeder. Another big save for the goaltender. Trying to track it down in the corner. Nice effort by Reedy, but could not keep it in play. Schroeder has been tough here today for this Penn Quaker club. 10 saves, but he's been peppered with over 40 shots. We've still got over 5 minutes to go in the third. Quick feed in front, Kavovit the goal, assist Ryan Powell.
Kavovit's usually on the other end of that, getting the assists. He's such a great assist guy, but he can also find the openings to get the goals. And as you see, Powell went by him on the right-hand side. Kavovit found a little spot in the middle of the field there, planted himself. Easy goal for Kavovit.
29th goal of the season for Rob Kavovit. He is tops on the team, one in front of Jackson and Powell. Check that, Casey moved in front of him with the hat trick earlier. He has 30. Another face-off going Syracuse's way. And for the first time in the game, Syracuse has the advantage in the face-off category. There you see 47 shots, closing in now on 50 in the game against Schroeder. Casey Powell. Spin away from the defender, now double teamed. Fights his way out of that. Still has it in front. Triple team now by the defense and taken down in a massive humanity at the 25-yard line. Powell getting up a bit slowly.
Casey here, you know, he's a good enough player to get by 1-2 guys, but 3 and 4 guys might be a little bit too many. Casey probably should have dished that off, and as a result, took some punishment at the end of that play, and he's probably wishing that he had given it up. But more times than not, he makes the right play, and on that, he maybe tried a little bit too much.
Face first dive into the carpet, looking for the feed in front. Kavovit off the stick of Schroeder high. Schroeder into double digits in the save category. I think we can now officially term this an orange onslaught with the number of shots they've been able to get off.
Yeah, Schroeder's seen a lot of rubber, as Coach Simmons would say. And I think he's done a really nice job, though, keeping them in this game. He's made a lot of big saves. And Syracuse could be up, you know, they could have 20 goals right now if it weren't for some of the nice kick saves that he had early on.
Just made another save there on Rob Kavovit's glove, which got away from Rob. Syracuse leading in the ground ball department as well, 41-26. Chris Cordisco out there with his brother Jeff. Winding up and missing wide on the shot was Andy Sharitz. Again, backed up by Syracuse. There you see Coach Mark Van Arsdale in his first season with the Quakers. Played on a couple of national championship teams, 4 to be exact, at Hobart during his playing days in the mid-'80s. the Statesman will be coming up a little later on in the schedule, and we'll have that game for you here on Super Sports later in the year. That will be the regular season finale for the Cuse. Nice spin move in front, the feed to Sherritt's. Stick save, and I mean stick save there from Schroeder. Made the stop with the shaft of his cross.
The Syracuse offensive unit right now is just putting on a clinic.
No chance there for Schroeder. The goal by Powell. On the assist, I believe it was Matt Doyle.
Well, up until that point, they've just been dominating, getting a lot of shots off, putting the pressure here again on the defense from Pennsylvania. Doyle to Casey Powell. From 3 yards away, you're not going to stop Casey Powell one-on-one. What he does here is he uses his body so well. A quick fake up, down, and right over the shoulder of Schroeder. And Casey Powell's 4th goal tonight, and he's just playing a great game.
31 on the season now for Casey Powell. 12-11 advantage in the face-offs for Syracuse. Drew Searle trying to dig one out. And a push called on Syracuse. The Quakers will get it with 3:21 to go in the 3rd.
The thing that's so hard for Schroeder and the rest of the defense for Penn is that Syracuse is not just taking one shot and out. They're taking 10 shots every offensive time down the field, and it's really hard for them to stop that.
And then down at the other end, I don't think that's what Penn wanted, the quick shot, because that gives Syracuse the ball right back. Ackerman with the long stick. Saved by Schroeder. I believe he got that one with his knee. Doyle out, giving it up to Jackson. Carcaterra coming on for Syracuse, as is Vanterpool. They go back behind to Doug Jackson. Casey Powell still out there. Let's see as Coyote now triggers the run. Powell in front. Stick up in his face. Flag flies. Powell in traffic loses possession. And it's Ziggy Majumdar, number 31, the defenseman, 30-second holding penalty. There you see Powell. You got to start to wonder too, Charlie, when he will take a break and give the ribs a rest right now with Syracuse up 14-7.
Yeah, I think Coach Simmons is definitely aware of this, and looking at this replay and the type of punishment he's taking out there, he's not just going one-on-one. There's 2 or 3 guys always around him, mugging him. And I'm sure Coach Simmons, as the game gets into the 4th quarter, is going to think about taking him out and putting some of the, more inexperienced guys in there and not taking a chance with his star player.
Ziggy Majumdar sitting out. Man-up situation for Syracuse. They are 2 for 3 today. Scored on their first 2, missed out on their last man-up situation. Another flag flies. Syracuse with an opportunity again. Carcaterra saves Schroeder.
Schroeder just kind of throws that one out of bounds as if to say, listen, I'm getting a lot of shots. Let's get this ball as far out of the offensive unit as possible. I don't want to see that thing for another 20 seconds, which I'm sure he's going to see a few more times here on the man up for Syracuse.
He's going to see lacrosse balls coming at him for the next few days, I think.
It'll be rough sleeping over the next couple of days for him. A little therapy might not be out of the question.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, I think, as Bodner sits down. The first penalty has expired, but Syracuse still man up. Kavovit tries the top shelf, blocked by Schroeder. Now 48 seconds on the second penalty to Bodner. Syracuse 2 of 4 now, the man up. 50% on the day, 38% on the season. Skataya. Carcaterra, Doug Jackson. Got a running start on that one. Blocked, though, by Peter McGill out top. 30 left on the penalty.
Syracuse has to keep this ball moving around. Even though the Penn close defense is not doing a real good job pressuring the ball, Syracuse each guy on the offensive team here has an opportunity to take that shot, but it's key that they keep moving it around and execute their plays as if they were playing a top opponent.
In front, Powell, 5th goal of the game. Assist Kavovit.
you can see there, Beth, that the difference between the last setup where the guy just took a crank shot as opposed to moving it around the outside. Casey Powell has a high percentage shot here, and you're not going to stop that shot anytime. No goalie's going to stop that from Casey Powell, but the difference was on that set was it was a higher percentage shot, and they moved the ball a lot better than they did on the previous play.
When you get that close for Casey Powell, that's no longer goaltending, that's self-defense for Schroeder.
Yep.
With 1:10 now to go in the third, Syracuse has rattled off 4 goals in a row. Penn will try and put an end to that run. Last possession they had, they took a quick shot. 55 to 26 now in the shot category. Cussin has it slapped away by Coyote. Syracuse in transition. Checked away nicely by the Penn defense. 27 is Jared Tuller. Doyle hammers away at it. Schroeder just clears that one. Fires it upfield. And it's taken by Sheedy to Cummings at midfield. Saccharin now with the long stick. Saccharin saves Schroeder.
You can see why they call this the fastest game on 2 feet. The up and down action is really exciting to watch. Both teams are running it up and down, and fun to watch.
At the buzzer, Reedy shot saved by Gebhardt. Syracuse taking control in the third. The Orangemen leading the Quakers 15-7. Casey Powell with 5 goals to lead the way. Syracuse in control, and it's been a long afternoon so far for Matt Schroeder in the Penn goal.
Well, Schroeder makes a big save there. He wasn't quite sure where it was. It got caught up on his numbers in his jersey there, and he's fortunate that that ball didn't kick into his own goal, and I've seen that happen before, but he came up big with the save and prevented another Syracuse goal. So
that almost squirted in the corner. As you see, 15 saves for Schroeder against nearly 60 shots from Syracuse, and the ice being applied to the Penn Quakers.
I'm sure if you were to ask Schroeder right now how many saves he thought he had, he'd have to say at least in the mid-20s. And, you know, he's just seen the ball all day long, and I think he's done a great job hanging in there and keeping Penn, you know, in the game and everything.
And at the end of the quarter, the officials will do a stick check. They selected Billy Reedy, and he had an illegal stick, so he's out 3 minutes, non-releasable.
That's a big penalty for Penn. Not to say that they were in this game all that much, you know, after the third quarter coming into the fourth quarter, but 3-minute non-releasable penalty gives a great offensive unit of Syracuse a lot of opportunities to look at that cage and get some more goals.
It's been a tough day for Reedy. The illegal stick in that first half, he had the shot to the head that put him out for a while. Carcaterra winds up and misses left. But we have been very impressed with the play in goal of Schroeder. The good news, he's done a nice job thus far. The bad news, he's got 15 more minutes to go against this Syracuse attack. There's another nice save on the low shot from Jackson.
Schroeder saw that shot a little bit earlier from Jackson, and he said this one was going to happen again. So he was already on that. Doug Jackson earlier on had that nice man-up goal down low on Schroeder.
Yep.
Schroeder was there before Dougie even took that shot back.
Snuck one between the legs last time, and Schroeder was not going to let that happen again. And this time he just fires that one downfield looking for some interference from Jackson.
That was really good play by Schroeder, because all goalies are taught to do that. If the guy puts his stick out in front of you, just to follow through, and if there's contact made, it's going to be you know, a penalty on Syracuse or a possession.
And that was indeed the play on that one. Penn did get possession. Now Syracuse trying to double team. They are still man up for another 2 minutes. Reedy sitting out the non-releasable for an illegal stick at the end of the third quarter. Syracuse trying to double team John Ward. Ward taken down, loses it out of bounds.
Ward really didn't have a chance there. Two guys were all over him, and Syracuse defender comes from behind and just dislodges the ball on a clean check. It might have looked like a push from the back, but there was no push there, and the refs made the right call.
Pretty good takedown by the Orange to get possession back. 1:37 to go in the penalty. Jackson now at midfield. He's got Casey Powell, Carcaterra. Matt Kataya now has it. Rob Kavovit behind the cage. Ryan Powell is also out there in the man up for Syracuse. Kataya to Casey Powell. Ryan Powell. Now back to Rob Kavovit. In front, Powell. Off the stick of the defender. Knocked out of bounds. Syracuse will maintain possession now with 1 minute to go in the penalty. 13 to play here in this fourth quarter. 15-7, the Orangemen leading the Penn Quakers.
Syracuse is doing a good job of moving the ball around. Every one of these guys could take it one-on-one if they wanted to and get the shot off, but they're moving it around nice and being very unselfish with each other.
Penn cannot seem to keep itself out of the penalty box here in the fourth.
Second time, let's go, Carey. Second time.
1 minute.
Another penalty, the 1 minute slash will go against number 44, Joe Sidlecki, the junior from Carthage. Called for the slash. So now 50 seconds on the first penalty to Reedy, and another minute. Sidlecki will sit down. So Syracuse 2 up now for the next 50 seconds.
A lot of these penalties that Penn is drawing are coming as the sticks come up towards the SU offensive player's helmet, and that's illegal. So they have to keep those checks down, and as a result, being man down again, you know, they're getting burned here, and SU's taking advantage of it and scoring a lot of goals.
13th goal of the season here for Ryan Powell.
Ryan Powell, a lot like his brother Casey, faked down low earlier on, came up. Ryan did the same thing. Bernd Schroeder went down real quick for a fake, came back up high. It's a really hard save for a goalie to make when you're that close to him. Just a little fake, that's all you need, and that's what Ryan Powell did.
Now Sidlecki is released from his slashing penalty, but Reedy still will sit for another 33 seconds. So a big face-off for Syracuse. If they get possession, they've got 33 seconds still in the penalty, a man-up situation. And the Quakers will now try and kill some time. Another double team by Syracuse. This is at Hanover. And we have a timeout called by Mark Van Arsdale on the Penn sideline.
I think that he was sensing that Hanover was in trouble there on at least a double team, if not a triple team. Figured he'd get a timeout, maybe drop a play to try to kill the rest of this penalty, and good call by him, and hopefully, you know, that he'll drop something to kill that penalty.
12:19 to go in the fourth. 19 seconds left in the penalty. When we return, Syracuse in control. Welcome back to the Carrier Dome. 16-7, Syracuse leading Penn. 12:19 to go in the fourth. And 19 seconds remaining in the penalty to Billy Reedy. Look at the shots for Syracuse, 61 on the season. And their average is 44 a game. So nearly 20 more shots, and we've still got over 12 minutes to go. Saccharin has it as the final seconds tick off the penalty. And now Syracuse will counter with a 20-second timeout with 6 seconds left in the man-up situation. And the Cuse will try and write something up here with the 20-second timeout. Well, as we mentioned coming in, a little added incentive for Syracuse as they have fallen from 5th to 6th in the poll, despite the fact they have won their last 3 games, and despite the fact that Duke at number 3 lost to Virginia this week. The Dukies stayed in the same spot, but the ACC tournament's coming up, Charlie, this weekend, so there could be some more movement by one of those two teams.
I think the most important thing that Syracuse had to do today was come out, and even though that they dropped to 6 in the poll, they had to realize that they didn't want anything to happen like what happened in that Brown game. They wanted to come out, dominate this Penn game in all phases of the game, and I think up until this point they've done a pretty good job doing that. They all realized that maybe they got gypped a little bit in the polls, but let's show all the coaches in the country we're better than that. Let's take it into the playoffs, and we'll see them there at the Final Four. So I think Syracuse has taken the first step to redeeming themselves, if you would call it that, in using that as a motivational factor, that they moved to 6 rather than up in the polls.
And we can also let you know that both Georgetown and Johns Hopkins, a couple of teams in front of Syracuse in the polls, were winners earlier today. Nice save there by Schroeder. Carcaterra trying to pick up the rebound, but Schroeder will clear it out of there. Now Penn on the attack. Penalties expired. Both teams back at full strength. We talked a little bit earlier about the regional sites for the first round, which Syracuse is trying to avoid by getting into the top 4. The North first round games will be played at Army, and the South first round games at Towson State. And then the second rounders, the quarterfinals, will be at Hofstra and at Maryland, and of course the Final Four down in College Park.
Well, if Syracuse does not make it into that top 4 and they have to play a first round game, it wouldn't be so bad if they had to go to Army, because they played there in scrimmage earlier this season, so that wouldn't be that bad.
Shot and a score from Peter McGill for the Quakers to make it 16-8. McGill just beats Doug Jackson.
This is a good play by McGill to realize that he had an attacker and Doug Jackson on him, and to go to the cage with a short stick on him. And Dougie's not used to being down on the defensive side of the field, and he's a good defender, but McGill's chances on scoring on Doug Jackson are a lot better than, say, scoring on a guy with a 60-inch pole. So good play by McGill there.
16-8, Syracuse on top. Quakers able to get another face-off. Penn looking for a fourth quarter rally. They have not been a second half team this season as the flag flies. Penalty coming up on the orange. Triple team on Ward, gets the pass off to McGill. Penn saying that whistle came a little quick. But at any rate, play has stopped. The slash on Syracuse, and a man up coming up for Van Arsdale's club.
Players and coaches from Penn a little bit upset that the ref didn't continue that play on. The play is supposed to continue if the ball does not hit the turf, and the Penn player got rid of that, whether it was a shot or pass or whatever. The ball had not hit the turf, and that's what the Penn players were upset about.
Josh Rule, a minute for slashing. Man down defense is out there for Syracuse. Penn 1 for 2 in the man up so far today. Cusson looking out top. Lean over. Ward. Back to Cusson. Ward winds it up. Saved by Gephardt. 30 seconds remaining on the penalty. Now we've got a whistle, and they are set to get back into play. Gephardt with 9 saves in the game thus far. He's faced 29 shots from the Quakers. Relatively quiet day for Gephardt compared to his counterpart Schroeder down at the other end. Ward, Morrow. Another miss wide on the shot from Cusson. 6 seconds left in the penalty.
Penn's doing a pretty good job here of moving the ball around, getting some pretty good shots off, shots that they haven't been getting off, in the first 3 quarters of the game. These high percentage ones right in front of Gephardt on the man up. So they're doing a good job, just not completing it by scoring.
Quakers tried to scoop up the rebound and dunk it back in. Instead, it goes over the end line. The officials say it was a shot, so the Quakers will keep it, but the penalty has expired. So the 'Cuse is back to full strength. 9:30 to go in the game. 16-8, the Orange men on top. looking for their 4th win in a row. Gebhardt goes low to make the save. Ward, now Cusson. Penn looking for an opening in that Syracuse defense. Hard to come by on this possession. Cusson being watched by Cummings. Feet in front, return, the shot, the save by Gebhardt. On the attempt from Hanover. And now Matt Alexander to Ryan Cummings. Syracuse has an advantage if they push. Long stick defenders able to get back into the play for the Quakers in a push against Penn. Play continues, and now the whistle.
That whole offensive transition started off with Gebhardt there making the great save on a point-blank shot and getting it up the field to Ryan Cummings, who does a very good job, as we saw earlier on, taking it from the defensive end to the offensive end and creating some sort of action. And that's what he did there. He drew a penalty, and Syracuse is going to be up 6-on-5 now.
One team or the other, I think, has spent this entire 4th period in a man-up situation. Bodner out 30 seconds for pushing. Syracuse with the advantage now for the next 20 seconds. 4 for 7 in the man-up situation today.
A team usually strives for 40% is a pretty good marker to aim for if you're a man-up team. So Syracuse has done that and then some today, and should be pretty pleased with 4 out of 7.
Rebound comes way out to midfield, scooped up by Ryan Powell. Kataya right into Schroeder's stick. Rebound comes out to Kavovit. Under 8 now to go in the game. In front, Jackson. Kavovit again with the rebound. Jackson tried to one-time that one in and did get by the goal line. Doug Jackson with a pretty feed from Rob Kavovit.
Dougie redeemed himself there. He just missed a shot earlier prior to that goal, and probably wished he had it back, and he got a chance. Kavovit, who's so deadly from behind, found him wide open and squirted it by Schrader there on the doorstep. Dougie's come up big, and 4 goals today. He's just showing why he's going to be one of those players that other teams have to watch out for, besides Powell and Kavovit on the attack.
Whistle on the face-off. Holding penalty against Syracuse there, the infraction against the Orange. So Penn will take it at midfield. Jackson, by the way, 4 goals now in the game. Syracuse has scored 6 of the last 7 goals in the game. This is the time of the year when Syracuse traditionally turns it up a notch. 42-1 in the month of April in the 1990s. Their only loss last year in overtime to Rutgers. Otherwise, they have been dominant in April. Charlie, you were part of that run earlier in the decade.
A lot of Syracuse teams going into the month of April are, have maybe 1 loss or 2 losses at tops, but they don't get flustered. They know that as the season comes to an end, that's when they step up, and it's a long tradition that they've had at Syracuse, culminated with the talent, the coaching staff, everything just seems to come together at the end of the year, and a lot of top teams in the country are well aware of that, and Syracuse is not a team that you want to be playing in May or in that Final Four. So, they're doing the right things today to work up until the playoffs and the Final Four. So I think Coach Simmons is fairly happy with today's performance.
And we are having some technical difficulties here at the Carrier Dome with the horn going off as the officials will stop play for a moment. And they are finally able to turn it off, much to the delight of the crowd here in the Carrier Dome.
One of the biggest rounds of applause today.
But now they've got a clock problem because it has reset itself to 30 and totally wiped out the score. We assure you, though, it's 17-8 right now, Syracuse on top. And there's hockey coming your way on your neighborhood network. AHL playoff game 3 between Rochester and Syracuse. Catch the action on Cable 13 Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. The Crunch live on Super Sports against Rochester. And now we come back to the Dome, and the boo from the crowd is because they gave Penn a couple more goals. It initially said 17-10. Now they have it corrected.
Syracuse fans are tough. They were looking for the scorekeeper. They're going to find his name, number, and go after him.
Coach Simmons, I think, an art major, but he knows his math when it comes to lacrosse. Mark Van Arsdale thought he might be able to sneak a couple by on the scoreboard.
Here we go!
At any rate, we are ready to go now. Penn, 8 goals. That is the right number, 17 for Syracuse.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier, Beth, with the way the Syracuse has come out and responded to the rankings and in Pennsylvania themselves, I think Coach Simmons is very happy with the score being 17-8 at this point in the game. They've done pretty much what they wanted to. They came out and they played consistently throughout the 3.5 quarters or 4 quarters now that we're seeing, and that's all Coach Simmons can ask for. And as a result, they've taken that first stepping stone along the way, and I think a lot of people here are happy, and Coach Simmons and Coach Desko are certainly happy.
We mentioned a little earlier, UMass and Hobart still on the schedule for Syracuse, and then into the postseason. Is there anything that's said, the coaches or the players at this time of the year? You know, we got to pick it up. It's heading into the tournament, or is it just kind of something that the players kind of feel?
Yeah, it's really an amazing feeling or situation that happens with Syracuse. The coaches can say it, but the players already have it there. From the first day they come here at Syracuse, they practice and they prepare for this time of the year, and it's a really neat thing that happens. And a lot of the guys down there are feeling like this is the end, guys. We got to start picking up our games, starting with Penn today. No letdowns, and they've done a pretty good job of doing that today.
And one of the reasons why they've been successful in these last couple of weeks is the play of the defense, and there they create the turnover. Particularly with Gephardt in goal, there's got to be an awful lot of confidence right now. Syracuse now on the attack with 5:40 to go, the 17-8 lead. Schroeder has been sensational in goal today. Despite the fact that he has given up the 17 goals, he has faced an unbelievable number of shots. Almost off of our stat board right now. 69 shots Syracuse has peppered at Mr. Schroeder. Gephardt with a kick save there on the shot from Zuckerman. Ward with a nice spin, goes high, misses that one over the top.
The defenseman's shaft hit the back of the net. It looked like that one went in, and I think Ward actually thought that ball went in. He was very nonchalant after the goal, and ball ended up going out of bounds, but a good move by Ward on that play.
Cusson trying to make the Fuden Ward knocked down by the Syracuse defense. Vanderpool with a nice check, trying to take it away now from Hanover. Unsettled situation. Penn with an opportunity here in the goal. So the Quakers are on the board. Number 18, Chris Wolf, gets credit for that one.
Chris Wolf with a great move there. Not only does he get himself wide open, nice face dodge. When he comes up on Gephardt, it was just what we call in lacrosse world a dipsy-do move. Came down low. We've seen Casey and Ryan Powell do it early on for Syracuse, and now Wolf doing it, and really tough for a goalie to save that. He almost commits himself to go down and make that save when the offensive player is dunking it over his head, and really good move and hard for a goalie to stop.
So now 17-9, Syracuse with the lead. Orangemen looking to respond, and they do. Matt Doyle, the senior from Elmont, New York, with the goal. Second of the game for Matt.
Pennsylvania only had about 15 seconds to celebrate that last goal, and just shows you the way Syracuse plays the game with their fast break style. They can come right back and really hurt you quickly. Doyle's one of the best finishers on the team, and if you give him that much room and time, 9 out of 10 times he's going to stick it. And he went low on Schroeder and beat him down low.
15 seconds, you were being too kind. How about 9 seconds it took for Doyle to score that one after Penn got the goal. Scramble for the ground ball, scooped up by the Quakers. Well, we've talked a little bit about the upcoming schedule for Syracuse and also for Virginia and Duke with the ACC tournament this weekend. Hopkins with the win over Navy. They still have to play, among others, Loyola, as does Georgetown, who was a winner today, ranked 5th right now, right in front of Syracuse. So Loyola, Syracuse rooting for the Greyhounds from here on out. They'd like to see them knock off either Hopkins or the Hoyas. Cusson goes low, saved by Gephardt. And now Syracuse looking to clear. Josh Rule down the far sideline. 3.5 to go. Syracuse by 9, 18-9.
To Gebhardt's credit, when you're a goalie that's not facing quite as many shots as your opposing goalie, it's hard to get in and make some quality saves because you just don't have that rhythm. Gebhardt's stuck right in there, hasn't seen as many shots, but just came up big on the other end there, giving his offensive unit a team to do some more damage.
Ground ball. Nice hit there from Doyle to knock the Quaker out of bounds. Syracuse will get possession. Both coaches now substituting freely. Coyote checks back in for Syracuse. Kavovit will come out. And the other thing Syracuse could have done with this lead was give Powell a little break, but Casey's still out there with 3 minutes to go.
We talked earlier on, I don't think Coach Simmons is going to do anything to let his star player be exposed to some of these slashes that he's been taking in the first 3.5 quarters. And he'll think about this, but he loves his players in there to do as much damage as he can and to let them showcase their talents. And nobody better on Syracuse than Casey Powell.
Coyote with the nice feed in front. Tim Glisker, his first goal as an Orangeman. The freshman from Garden City was playing in the football game, the spring football game earlier today. Here it is, freshman to freshman for the score.
Hopefully that's something the Syracuse fans will be seeing in the future. Coyote to Glissner. And Glissner, I was talking to Coach Simmons earlier on this year. He's a football player that also plays lacrosse, and he's pretty polished for a football player. He's got some pretty good stick skills, but he comes from one of the best high school programs in the country, being Garden City. And he's someone that in the future could be a big factor for the Syracuse lacrosse team.
And flags fly as a Quaker goes down. That was a hit from Jeff Cordisco, and he will sit in the penalty box for that one.
Went a little bit out of his way there to make that hit, and as a result, the ref was all over him with the 1 minute unnecessary roughness call. But some of these guys that don't get a lot of opportunities to get in the game, when they get out there, all cylinders are flowing, a lot of momentum, a lot of adrenaline going through their body, and they want to make something the most of their time, and sometimes they get a little bit carried away.
Trying to make something happen there. 19-9 with 2:20 to go. And now a timeout taken by Mark Van Arsdale. And we will take this timeout as well with 2:17 to play. Syracuse in front, 19-9. Back to the Carrier Dome right after this. Here is a look at the shots by quarters. Syracuse with 70 in the game, including that third period, 25 shots at Matt Schrader, unbelievable.
Just to put it in perspective, 38 shots for a team is a fair amount to get off in one game. So 70 is, you know, just a little bit too much for any defense to handle. No matter who you have back there in goal for you, if you can get 70 shots off, you're going to win a lot of games.
And it's really a tribute to the Penn defense and to Schroeder in goal that they have only given up 19. There you see Schroeder, just a sophomore from Long Island. And this is a day he will probably remember for quite some time. 20 saves in the game for Matt Schroeder. Ward checked away by Rule when it looked like Ward was going to have a point-blank shot on Gephardt, and instead Syracuse will get the ball. Well, the challenge now for the Syracuse defense is to try and stay under double digits in goals allowed. They're at 9 right now.
I can tell you about being an offensive player and knowing what it feels like to have 19 goals. You usually want to try to get one more to make it, you know, an even 20. And I'm sure these guys, if they get it on the offensive end, they're going to be looking to make something happen rather than just kill the ball. It's really out of character for Syracuse just to, unless Coach Simmons tells them not to shoot.
That one off of Gephardt, off the pipe, and does not get across the line. And now Syracuse looking for number 20. Nice save again by Schroeder on the uncontested layup almost from Syracuse. Flags fly, the shot and the score for Penn as they get their 10th. I believe it's Mike Burka. Number 21 gets the goal. And that was after Matt Wilson had missed at the other end.
Just a really well-placed shot. Looked like it might have gone through Gebby's legs there, but Burka with a nice shot and gives Penn their 9th goal. Actually, 10th goal.
And to add some insult to injury, a 1-minute penalty as well against Syracuse. 3rd goal of the season for Burka, and now Volin will sit out for a minute. Essentially a man-up situation now for the rest of the game, or a goal, whichever comes first for Penn. And they will also get the ball. Now I think the officials are going to talk about it in a second. Coach Simmons wants to talk with the officials about this one. I think he also called a timeout.
Some of the viewers at home might be wondering why Coach Simmons at this point in the game's over. It's 19-10 with 53 seconds to go. It just shows you what type of individual he is. He's very competitive, very intense, and you know, he'll play all 4 quarters just the way he, you know, would a scrimmage or, you know, practice or whatever. He's so intense that, you know, he'll question a referee's call. He'll question his own players if they don't do the right thing. So that just shows you what type of person Coach Simmons is. And
you may have also been able to pick up, talking to the official just a minute ago, he said, hey, we've got a game to get ready for next week. He wanted somebody out there, I think it might have been Alexander, to take that face-off. He wanted somebody else fresh out there to take the face-off to get in a little practice. 53 seconds to play in this one. Syracuse 19-10. Beth Mullins along with Charlie Lockwood at the Carrier Dome. And Charlie brought along some of his jewelry to share with us today. How about, not a national championship ring, he's got one of those too, but this is the World Championship ring for Charlie from, what was that, the 94 national team?
Yep, that was the 94 USA team. And everyone, I come here and Coach Simmons and the rest guy, how come you don't have your national championship ring on? I said, you know, sometimes I get a little nervous coming up to the Syracuse area and I need the bigger ring just in case I'm ever jumped. I got the bigger ring on, I'll take care of someone with this. So I wear this one, but I love the national championship ring just as much.
You just saw Bolin sitting out, man-up situation. They do decide, obviously, to go back to the face-off circle after the initial call was to give possession to the Quakers. And now it looks like they will go back for a redo.
With 47 seconds to go, it's important that Syracuse comes out of this with no late game injuries. You know, they just want to get the 40 seconds plus out of the way and talk it over, but they don't need any injuries at this part in the game.
Quakers come away with a John Ward with 30 seconds now to go. Man up for Penn. Next weekend, Syracuse will travel to UMass, and then they'll come home for a midweek clash with Hobart to end the regular season. Ward, 15 left in the penalty. And just 5 left on the game clock. Morrow, saved by Gephardt at the buzzer. And it's the 4th win in a row for Syracuse. 19-10 the final. Casey Powell with 5 goals to lead a very balanced Syracuse attack. And the Orangemen come away with the win, and we will be back to the Carrier Dome for some final thoughts to wrap things up right after this. And welcome back to the Carrier Dome. Syracuse taking care of the Penn Quakers 19-10. The final score as Syracuse picks up a win over an Ivy League opponent, and really maybe responded a bit to some critics, not only voting in the poll, the coaches around the country, but also to some of the naysayers maybe locally who were wondering what Syracuse team would show up today.
Right. I think that they came out today, did exactly what Coach Simmons and Coach Desko wanted them to do. They came out hard and played consistently throughout all 4 quarters. Penn did counter a few times, but Syracuse pushed through that and ended up outscoring them consistently, you know, 3, 4, 5 to 1 at any point in the game. And I think that was huge that Syracuse just played a consistent game for all 4 quarters, and there weren't too many lulls.
Is that going to be the key now, the last 2 games of the regular season, to maintain that consistency?
I think so. Going into the playoffs, you're going to be facing teams that are at higher levels than what we saw today with Penn. And they're going to have to come out and play 4 quarters of good lacrosse, because if they don't, the other teams will take advantage of that and really hurt Syracuse.
All right, it's 4 wins in a row for the Orangemen. They improved to 43-1 in the month of April in the 1990s. 2 games left, including 1 more home game against the Hobart Statesmen. We will have that for you on Super Sports. Dale Drypolcher will return to that one. The air date, May 2nd at 8 p.m. For my partner, Charlie Lockwood, this is Beth Mullen saying so long from the Carrier Dome. The Orangemen pick up the 19-10 win over the Penn Quakers.